Namaste and welcome to my video newsletter here on video, because I want to share with you quite a few things. So it takes a lot less time doing a video than doing it all in written form. Besides, it's a lot more entertaining. I'm greeting you here from Bali, and this is just by our retreat center where we are right by the ocean that you can't see right now, but it's behind the camera, where the dolphins come by, where our retreat center is. It's called Shambhala Retreat Center, as you may know. And we are here for the duration until, and who knows how long that will be, the flights are opening up and we can fly. You know, last year, around June, I started having visions that drastic things were coming. And actually in the month of May, I was teaching a seminar in Germany. And in front of a group of 50 people, I said, you know, I think this will be my last time. And I had been coming since 1991. So you figure it's 30 years, 3 times a year, 5 weekends in a row each time, sometimes 3 weekends and some week-long seminars in Germany alone for 30 years. So when I said that I felt that this was going to be my last time coming to Germany, I didn't think I was going to leave the planet. I just felt things were going to change. And because of that, I started putting away some food, looked at freeze dryers, started behaving like, you know, I was like going, what's going on? So I called a really good psychic that I can highly recommend, Susanne Wagner. She was a ballet dancer, danced with Baryshnikov. She was then turned into a psychic medium and did readings for Hollywood stars. And I was lucky enough to meet her one day in Hawaii on Maui. We were hiking. That's where we were looking for dolphins, if you remember my book, Wisdom of the Dolphins. And she looked at my hands and she said, and I hadn't written a book yet. You will write 5 best-selling books. You will do this, you will have that, you will have this. And all these things have come true. So if you need a psychic, go to Susanne Wagner with a Z, or I can give you her number or her email address, susannewagner.com. And I asked her, I said, are you getting something odd? Like, are you packing food away? She said, oh my God, my husband is thinking I'm a pack rat. I'm going nuts. I'm doing this and that. And we're getting independent food supplies and water supply and solar power. And we started building a house in Bali when I had no desire to build another house in Bali. Seriously. I had just said maybe half a year prior to that I had no interest in building anything. We had a house in Ubud. We had a house here by the ocean. And yet in our meditation, it said, build a temple. So we built a house, 3 stories tall practically, that is really tall. And in the center is set up so that we meet for meditations, that we meet for higher dimensional work. And that is something that I have dedicated my entire life to. It's consciousness, teaching consciousness interactive tools, that we live in a universe that is interactive with our consciousness and that listens, which is why I titled my book, Dream Big, the Universe is Listening, my latest best-selling book, actually. It's also translated into German, and it talks about miracle stories. The reason why I share miracle stories, my own as well as others, is for us to get habituated, primed, so to speak, for living in miracles. If you think that Ilona can have a miracle and Joe Blow can have miracles and time-space actually behaves according to expectations and consciousness, then you will more likely feel okay that it can happen to you. And in the 30 years that I've been teaching Living from Vision, I have had the privilege, because this course is available in Chinese, in German, in Polish, in Spanish, English, German, French, Chinese, and was going to be translated in Polish in Czechoslovakian, that I've heard a lot of stories from around the world. And one thing is for sure, we all are the same. The purpose in life, people tell me, is to shine more light and more love. Who would have guessed? And that in doing so, you develop skills of managing time-space. Your mastery of your environment reflects your evolutionary state. It's not a question of power over something. It's simply mastery of a domain. So I invite people to do the Living from Vision course again and again, because it grows with you as you grow. In the beginning, maybe you have goals in areas where you haven't mastered something. And then as you grow, you have mastered those. You just learn what is really important to you. You build upon deeper values. You evolve your sense of self, your identification with spirit and the divine force, rather than I need more money or I need to have a job. Those are all fine things. And we all need to cover a lot of areas in our lives to create that sense of happiness. We need to have a beautiful environment to live, or a good, stable environment to live, food on the table, relationships, social connection, achievements, spiritual developments. These are all part of the hierarchy of needs as Maslow developed them. And when you set goals, or when you look at your life, right now, being in lockdown, you might feel a huge lack in the social department. So do make sure that you address that. That you address having friends. And what I recommend is having book discussion groups. So you take a book and discuss it in groups, and then do the exercises. Maybe it's a book on spiritual development. Then you can do them together. I offer that in Germany more than I offer that in my English group. But for that reason, I'm giving you this newsletter, because I'm super excited to share with you something that my husband and I have been working on since 1987. And that's the radionic instrument, the SE5. And we've just put out the SE5 2000, which has now the precision stick detector included in it. And I want to share with you what this is about in a video that I'm going to share below this in this newsletter. It's an interview I did with my husband, being the interviewer, about the SE5, and I play the dummy, and I'm going like, well, tell me, I'm a layperson. What does this mean? In short, it's a device which affects the informational fields and can either read the informational fields of an area, something, human, animal, plant, and send corrective informational fields. And if you look at the hierarchy of evolution, the physical being the last manifest version of energy before that, and above that, informational fields, and above that, the singularity. Information comes out and, information creates gravitational fields. As a matter of fact, I wrote that in, I believe, Dream Big, the Universe is Listening, how I was listening to a lecture. I was giving a speech at the Prophets Conference, and Edgar Mitchell, the late astronaut, who also flew Apollo Mission 13, and another one, landed, who had the epiphany in space and then started noetic sciences. He was a co-speaker, and I loved listening to him, because when he was invited by the government into a think tank with a number of other great thinkers, they were trying to understand all sorts of aspects. And here he stood of reality, of what ticks, how does everything tick. And out of the think tank, they came with one understanding: consciousness creates gravity. I mean, he started the word consciousness, and I finished it in my mind, creates gravitational fields, because that's what I've been teaching. But that's what he said as well. I'm using him to just point out to you how even scientifically minded people, and that's why he built noetic sciences, then bridge into what we would call metaphysics, beyond physics. And in all the things that Don and I do, we teach how consciousness interacts with matter. So with this device, now I teach it through Living from Vision, through meditation, through various other courses that employ your own consciousness. But with the SE5, we have an instrument where you take a sample of a plant, a photo of an aerial photograph, or a sample of a person, a bit of hair, and then you do a reading on the informational field of something you'd like to find out about. Now, if somebody comes to you and says, can you check the vitality of my liver or something like that, you look for the informational field. Yeah. So that degree of informational field in percentages might say it's 98%. But if it were 60%, it would indicate that there was a weakness. As a matter of fact, what we had just gotten the SE5 in 1987 and 86, and a friend of ours came, 87. Yeah, it was right in the beginning of 86. And then in 87, half a year later, we had already had the instrument. A friend came to us in Seattle. He was working for Boeing, and he said, "Can you just check me out?" And we're like, do, 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 do. You know, you rub a plate, you look through things, you take a photograph of the person. And we said, all the informational fields indicate cancer. Maybe you should see a doctor. So he did. And sure enough, the doctor found the same information. But he didn't know, and we didn't know. So it was a rather eye-opening experience. And from then on, now, we have thousands and thousands and thousands of people all over the world, including China, where people work with the SE5, hundreds of them, in those countries, in Mexico, in America, in Germany, and in England, and France, all over, Australia, everywhere, in Japan, in Taiwan. And they use the SE5 to improve the informational field of a particular choice. In Living from Vision, we do it with our own consciousness and our own imagination, feeling the end result. In radionics, you give a description in numerical values. And then reality moves into that direction to physically express the blueprint that you've given it in advance. Now, it's an interactive universe, and it is something where there is a force that's listening. And I'm just writing a book with my niece in Germany about it, the 5 Golden Rules of Living from Vision. And the interactiveness is one huge aspect that we need to master. We need to learn to listen and then funnel and be a channel, but also express and be the creative arms and eyes of the divine force. We are these nanoparticles all collaborated around the source energy. Ultimately, our sense of individuality is a mirage, you could say. It's changeable, malleable, mutable. But it's also the specific focus through which, and the lens through which the universe reflects back to itself and has an interactive experience, a love affair, so to speak. You and the divine that you see eternally, infinitely, or in specific, can encounter each other and then become a dance of ecstasy, which is my dearest aspect of my personal pastime. I like to unite with people in higher states of consciousness. This earplug is a little too large for my left ear. My left ear is a little bit smaller, so I'm having to tuck it in there a little bit more often. And the unification of 2 into 1 is the pathway into infinity. It's even what the Buddhist teachings say. It's 2 into 1 is the fastest way to enlightenment. But while we're here, we also have to manage living here, be fulfilled. And even in the Bible it said, ask and you shall receive, knock and you shall be given. You know, it's like our job to communicate and interdimensionally interact with the divine and evolve and become the radiant light to create the world around you. Now, we are currently in a world situation which appears to be putting limitations on all of us, right? As I described to you last year, I started getting these messages, and so I adjusted my behavior. I adjusted to, if something is coming, there's a future. In my book, Friedeke Doffen, it's in German, in English it's called Doffen's Love and Destiny. You can read the whole deliberation of how much we live in destiny and how much we have free will. Because destiny happens when you run on the timeline that had been prescribed as your destiny. That's usually currently what we encounter. However, free will allows you to make changes and to look around and go, I'm changing my potential. Now, it depends to what degree either your destiny is pulling on you or to what degree you're willing to raise yourself outside of where you were previously. So if you take your vibrational field superluminally higher and can conceive of a totally different reality, that will be yours. What usually happens, it's a variation on the theme, right? It's not totally different, like you're not going to wake up as an alien, Well, anyways, you're not going to be a tree all of a sudden or something like that. You are you right now, and within that given being you, you will create this or that choice within the parallel options. If you could change your mind and feeling dramatically and your identity state, you could create a different experience. But since we're in this environment right now, and you may want to then ask yourself, why am I in this time period, in this time zone where this is happening? You have to ask yourself, why? Why are you here? It must be teaching you something, or you must be wanting to bring something to this time zone that is either helpful to the world or your soul evolution. It is a perfect match. You put yourself here. The entire world runs on resonance. The entire world runs on resonant fields. So whatever field you create, that's the field you create outside of yourself. So in radionics, which I'm going to explain more in the video below, you create a resonant field through holding it with an instrument in a particular configuration, or you remove blockages. I remember when I went through burnout when I was 26, overdoing it. I had just gotten the SE5 with Dawn, and we went and took a lesson, or a whole seminar with Ludi Larson. And she'd been written up in Mother Earth News in the 70s, I believe. And I went back in time to find out, when did this moment start? She's like, the best moment to eliminate something is going back in time. Go back to when it started. So in my mind, with the instrument, we went back, found out what the time of inception was, and then asked for that time to be rearranged, to create a different tangent, right? So now the tangent we're on, I said, I'm removing the old imprint and I'm asking for a new imprint where the healing has already happened. Well, within 5 minutes, Dr. Bob Beck at the time, alive, sat 3 people away from me. And I was introduced, and he said, oh, he has this great miracle instrument, the brain tuner. It helps fabulously with depression and anxiety. At that time, in the seminar, they just said so. Well, now we've found out the FDA has all these words trademarked, and so I'm not going to say them anymore. But anyhow, he said, do you have something you can just trade me? Give me something. And we had a water filter, a Multipure water filter, with us that we were selling. It still am selling. And I'm going to give you a link to the Multipure page in a minute, down below. Just if you need clean water, get a Multipure filter. The replacement filter only costs, like, depending on what kind of unit you get, $50 to $70 once a year or year and a half, depending on how quickly you drink, 750 gallons or 250, depending on the size of the filter, but about once a year, pennies per gallon. Anyways, that's what we gave him, and he was so excited. He gave us 2 of his units, and he said, just one for free, you try it out, and then if you get good results, you give it to somebody else. So we did. After 3 weeks, I was a normal person. I came back to life. I was back alive and pumping. Endorphins are something that are produced in the brain. So with the SE5, we'd figured out I was low, and because she had suggested that our teacher, that we go back in time and fix it, my alternate reality has the solution sitting right next to me. 5 minutes later, I am making the contact, and he gives me the solution. Well, I use it, and I come out of my depression, and I'm totally there again. We've helped thousands and thousands of people since 1986 to work with a brain tuner. So if you need me, write to our office. Well, just write me. I'll connect you with where you can get that, the brain tuner. So back to radionics. So then you create you create an outcome that is different because you're working either back in time or into the future, but you're learning to understand that time is malleable and the information at either the inception point or in the future point affect your now point. So that's one of the things that radionics has done. It has taught me that consciousness is interactive with the physical reality, and what you hold internally becomes the blueprint to what you see outside of yourself. Now, there is such a thing as precognition and prophetic perception of potential timelines. And whether you get that insight and you go, oh, I move to the left or to the right, just to be in the right place at the right time for you to be in the perfect expression of your life force. That's up to you, and that's something we can train and learn, and that's why I love working with Living from Vision. It trains your intuition, it trains to listen to the higher dimensions, and then to creatively create an output here in this dimension. So, the interview with Dawn is further below. It explains you more about radionics, what it has been done with graphs and, pictures. And you can see we did seed experiments and grew them with and without the machine. Seeds were listening to this machine. I mean, it's like out of this world. It is so phenomenal. We then built a house here in Bali and built a greenhouse. I just got this real urge to have a greenhouse, hydroponics, and to plant things in the garden. And now it's pumping, and then we harvest coconuts. And I learned how to make coconut milk from shredded coconut. It is awesome. And, actually I just learned with oat milk. You just need to get a cup of oats, 3 times the amount of, or 4 times the amount of water, depending on how thin you want to have it. Blend it in a Vitamix or whatever you have, super fast, super small. Run it through a really tiny sieve, and the rest is all milk that you can drink. It's awesome. You can make it a chai oat milk and put some chai spices in there, or some brown palm sugar, which helps with the pancreatic sugar absorption. It's good. I just leave mine bland and put it on my cereal, on whatever I can rig up for my muesli, and I'm just jazzed. And a year ago, I mean, now it's 11 months ago, that future timeline came to me, and it said something's going to happen. Food shortage will happen. We may have outages of this. We may have outages of that. I actually thought maybe some kind of a whatever they call it, a pulsed electromagnetic field bomb or something like that would be happening. So I got, prepared. I am not a prepper. I really am not. I don't even consider myself a survivalist. I figure, God has to make it sure it's beautiful all around me and easy and safe, because I like it that way. Yes, and that's also why we have created Shambhala. Shambhala here in Bali, 10 years ago, I thought would become a refuge for people who would like to live in a peaceful environment with people with high vibrations by the ocean, to do their artistic pursuits, meditation, yoga, and have people, cook for them and all that kind of stuff, clean up, but be outdoors and be in a warm climate. And I'm thinking people will come here. I figure for $1,200 to, $1,400 a month, including food and accommodation, we can do the whole thing and have people maintaining the lawn and garden and all that. Although we all may want to work on planting and harvesting food. Oh, I want to show you this amazing plant. Can you see this? This is God's answer to me. So I'm planting a garden. I'm going, how am I going to have enough food? You see this giant spinach plant? I'm waiting for it to go to seed so I can plant more of them. It seeded itself. I never did that. It just seeded itself. Seriously. You hold things in your aura and the reality comes to you. It's odd. It's off the charts. I mean, we live in a walking miracle. The universe is listening. Not AI, this artificial intelligence watching everything and making algorithmic choices. No, a universe that's alive to the minutest detail, that knows every single move of your thoughts and feelings, and that which you change within yourself instantaneously. Like the stories I've written in my book, Yoga for the Soul, is Dolphins, Love and Destiny, and or Dream Big, the Universe is Listening, and also Wisdom of the Dolphins, are all stories where I sometimes did miraculous things within moments. It's like the universe, when you need something, listens to you. Now you have to have the feeling that you deserve it. And the people who manifest the most easily are the people who have a very good self-esteem. And that's also something we work on in the course, and learning how to talk with the doubts, the angers, the frustrations, and transform them according to the work by Dr. Vern Wolf. In the second week, we take his technique, We dub it learning from problems and living from vision. And we use it to create the unification between the polarities. And when the two unify, it becomes one. And it becomes the next level of the higher dimensional expression of the fulfillment. See, shifting from problem thinking to solution thinking takes discipline. And that's exactly what we practice. So I highly recommend you check out the course Living from Vision. I'm going to put a link underneath of here. If you wish to have coaching, I'm obviously glad to help you. In Germany, I oftentimes do group coaching, so it's a lot more affordable. If you have a group of 5 people, for example, $25 per person is all that it takes to get us all together per session. So I encourage you to work on your own, creating your own heaven on earth. You create for yourself that environment that reflects your vibration and your union with the divine, your alignment with that force that loves all and every particle of itself in expression, that is just waiting for itself to remember itself. And you are itself looking back at itself. You are the one whose eyes are remembering, his consciousness is touching back into the source. And in that union between the infinite and the finite, in that touch of the face of God, bliss, love, and ecstasy reigns, and fulfillment is built into the system. It's your choice. So if you're feeling tucked in a little bit, or depending on, Arizona, they have the doors open, right? Or worried about the future, things are going to change. All of them have changed. We're no longer living in a Roman Empire, thank God, or Egyptian, or, Tibet is no longer. All of it has changed. And yes, we have to deal with the changes. But things are, I would say, better now than they ever have been. You have the ability to study wisdom knowledge that used to be forbidden 500 years ago. You used to not be able to even read and write. I mean, if we were normal people, we wouldn't have gone to school. Women wouldn't have gone to universities until 150 years ago. So we are living in amazing times. Let's take advantage of it. This incarnation is phenomenal. And whatever is coming, if you ignite your state of consciousness, if you ignite that part of you that makes contact to the source and that can lighten up and realize this is a matrix, and that your job is to illuminate and then express the best matrix expression of yourself, then you're free. In your soul, you're free. And that which you express and that which you move from here to there depends on what you believe should happen to you. So transform any concerns, any fears. If you want help, you can contact me. If you would like to do it on your own with the self-study course, it's super inexpensive. It's, sorry, I don't really know the prices. I think it's $345 for 5 weeks, something that is with an app, morning and evening exercises. You can do it on your own again and again. I have people right now in a German study group. They've taken it the beginning of the year, they're taking it now, they did it last year. They're loving it because each time you expand to a greater level of yourself. So I invite you on a journey to discover how you can turn this, whatever it is, around to a beautiful future, one that surely you have known about and one in which you wish to grow. The environment is one of the challenges, and what you dream of it is up to you. So come with me on a journey of learning more about the interactive nature of this universe, study the skills, learn about radionics, and I hope there's something fun for you. I'll add the Brain Tuner link down below. Maybe you can get it from Canada. So, or actually you could call my office probably, and my secretary in America can help you. And I'm saying namaste here from Bali, from our retreat center. And I am blessed, feeling grateful, and wish you that you always are at the right place in the right time, and that you create your heaven on your earth the way you dream of it possible. Namaste. Thank you for watching.